السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. لعل السجناء السياسيين السابقين في روبن آيلاند في جنوب أفريقيا يقولون صراحة إنهم لا يريدون أن يصبح هذا السجن رمزا للمعاناة والاضطهاد، بل هو شهادة على انتصار الروح الإنسانية وقوى الخير على الشر ونظام الفصل العنصري. وقد تجلى هذا النصر كاملا في القائد الراحل نيلسون مانديلا مع إيمبو ماسيمولا القيادي الثوري والمناضل من رابطة السجناء السياسيين السابقين في جنوب أفريقيا. نتحدث من الداخل. معكم زينب صفار، تابعونا. لعل سجن الأمن الأقصى في روبن آيلاند يعد بمنزلة تذكير بفظائع نظام الفصل العنصري لعقود في جنوب أفريقيا من جهة، وانتصار الروح الإنسانية ضد الظلم والمحن الشديدة من جانب آخر. ولعلنا يجب أن نرى هذا في سياق تثقيف الأجيال المقبلة حول الدور الذي أرسته هذه الروح الأساسية للديمقراطية في جنوب أفريقيا بحسب الشهود من المعتقلين السياسيين السابقين على تلك المرحلة القاسية والدموية في تاريخ البلاد. أحد السجناء السياسيين المناضلين الذي حكم عليه بالسجن 10 سنوات بتهم تتعلق بما صنف بالإرهاب من قبل قادة نظام الفصل العنصري لارتباطه بعمليات لاستخبارات سرية لجناح ثوار حزب المؤتمر الوطني الأفريقي آنذاك، يرى أن سجن روبن آيلاند ذلك المعتقل المهجور الذي تبرز معالمه على بعد 5 أميال من الشاطئ هو مكان مقدس وضعت فيه أسس الديمقراطية في جنوب أفريقيا بقيادة الراحل نيلسون مانديلا ووالتر سيسولو ورفاقه من المناضلين ضد سياسة التمييز العنصري أو الأبرتايد، وهو شهادة على الشجاعة والثبات في مواجهة الوحشية. إيمبو ماسيمولا نائب سكرتير لجنة السجناء السياسيين السابقين لجنوب أفريقيا وأحد الثوار الشباب الذين أرسلوا إلى سجن روبن آيلاند في أبريل عام 85 يخبرنا أكثر عن عمل هذه اللجنة التي تعد الهيئة التي تمثل كل السجناء السياسيين السابقين في البلاد، وعن الإجراءات التي شرعوا بها حتى الآن وماذا كان الغرض من تأسيس هذا التجمع.
Yes, in 1995, after we have been released from prison, all the political prisoners were released in prison, Robben Island, in 1990. It was Nelson Mandela who formed this association, together with the senior high command of Umkhonto Sizwe. We went back to Robben Island. All the political prisoners, were incarcerated on the island. That includes SWAPO, members of SWAPO, the Namibian armed wing, military wing. They were also, served long sentences at Robben Island. And we had people from Botswana and also Zimbabwe. And the main objective of the association, when we draw the constitution, it was to look at the socio-economic issues that are affecting political prisoners back into the society. Remember, coming from serving 20 years in jail, coming back for integration in the society. You're unemployed, you've got a family who are looking up at you.
And you have families who suffered during your incarceration also.
Yes. They were raided, they were harassed a lot. The South African security forces, they will come to the house just to knock at the doors and banging up the doors and the windows to wake them up.
Psychological warfare.
Psychological warfare. And then secondarily to that, Madiba said to us, look, we are liberated, we are free. We need to also to look at how do we intensify and assist other countries who are still facing oppression around the globe. the Palestinian question in particular. So,
because there are hundreds and hundreds of detainees in Israeli jails still.
Yes.
And many of them, like around 320 of them, are children actually, under the age of 18.
yes, that's why we are saying Israel has adopted the apartheid system, which was based on racial segregation. I'm coming from, the townships, the black townships in South Africa, which were based on racial segregations. There was this act that is called Separate Amenities Act, Group Areas Act. Black people that side, white people this side. It's in Robben Island, we turned it to be a leadership institute because that's where we were taught this politics. When we were locked up during the night, we will take up materials which were banned materials. Because I belonged to, a committee in my section. We call it a politically military committee. And then each and every section has those sections, committees, where we will receive information and material from the A section, B section, where Madiba is staying. Then we will move it underground and disseminate the information to all the sections.
Right.
And then during the night when they locked the boas, and then we will combine the tables, and then the material will be taken out, and then it will be read to us. We also discussed, it is tantamount to the Israeli, jackpot, tactics. What we demanded when we have sent a number of letters to the, correctional services of the fascist regime in Israel to say, these are prisoners of war. They must be treated as political prisoners. And when you treat them as political prisoners, therefore, they have rights, human rights. One of the rights that we fought in the Robben Island was the right to learn. I mean, the right for education. Yes.
Exactly.
And when we did that, it was very difficult course because we have to recruit the wardens, prison wardens, to work for us and take information outside. Also to bring information inside. That's a difficult task.
Exactly.
That's why Madiba's book, Political Prisoners, have written many books to say, how did we went through to win them.
Why did they choose Robben Island to become the prison?
Robben Island history, it starts from the 14th centuries on the arrival of the Dutch people. And it was made to be a station when you go to Cape Town in South Africa. So the Dutch settlers used to come via the Robben Island to get water and some other things. And then in South Africa itself, during the war of resistance against settler colonialists, they arrested many black chiefs, tribal chiefs, and then they threw them on Robben Island. One of them, it was Makanda. He was a tribal chief. And they threw them there on the island to isolate them out of the society. And they also, those that were, critically ill, having diseases like leprosy.
Yes.
So now they were removed from the society and taken to that Robben Island. Today you still have the graves of the leprosy graves.
Those who died out of leprosy.
Yes, in the 16th centuries,
yes.
you see.
They are buried on Robben Island.
Yes, Robben Island was a dumping place to frustrate and,
to isolate people from the society. You try to put them there.
Yes.
You try to throw them on this island, like what happened with you. And I would appreciate, allow us to stop now for a short break. But afterwards, we're going to talk about your personal experience, Émpo, during the years of your incarceration in Robben Island. But
Thank you
after
very
the break,
much.
sir. فاصل قصير ونعود. لا تذهبوا بعيدا. ماسيمولا نائب سكرتير لجنة السجناء السياسيين السابقين لجنوب أفريقيا يعود معنا 34 عاما، حيث كان يقبع في معتقل روبن آيلاند. كيف يتذكر ذاك الزمن كسجين سياسي عندما وصل للمرة الأولى إليه؟ وكيف كانت ظروف السجن؟ ما الذي تعرض له؟ وكيف كانت الحياة وراء القضبان؟ وكيف كان لقاؤه الأول مع المديبة؟
Yeah, well, going back again, I'm coming from the background of the working class, family.
Sure.
Raised by a single mom. And, during the height of the struggle, during that time, there was a serious issue of, us being given separate education than our white counterparts in South Africa. It was called Bantu education.
Bantustans.
Certain elements of it has made us to look at ourselves as inferior to white people. And it was not scientific at all. And in terms of expression, in terms of, learning.
Did you ask your mother, for example, why do I have to go to this school and my people of my age, of different color perhaps, go to another school? Did you raise such kind of questions, or you just understood that you're different, for example?
My mother was apolitical.
Right.
And was just a religious woman. And, they were victims of apartheid. They just accepted the status quo. And my recruitment, actually, into the ranks of the resistance movement, there were some certain comrades in the township, who were much more higher than us, senior. And then through what we call radio freedom, which I spoke yesterday about, the very important tool, to mobilize the masses on the ground and also to politically conscientize the masses. When I started to listen to Radio Freedom, the voice of the African National Congress in exile, hearing for the first time the AK-47.
ANC.
Yes. Hearing for the first time the sounds of AK-47. Then I became so agitated to know more about that. And all these revolutionary songs that were sang in the bush. And then I started people starting to talk about Bantu education. It is wrong because they wanted to give us that education in Afrikaans, in their own language, to abandon our own language, and which is a very difficult language in all the subjects in school. We studied there. Then we refused to say, no, why do we have to learn your own language and in everything in your own language? That is colonialism. And it started there. People started to boycott the classes, not to go into classes. And then when we go to school, say, there's no class. Then we ask, why? Then they said, no, this education is not correct for us. Why our white counterparts are learning, scientific, technological education. After matric, they go to technicons.
You were even restricted from learning certain kind of subjects.
Yes. You see, they taught us about some very lousy things,
For the low-scale jobs.
Yes, low-scale
jobs. What they
jobs.
considered as low-scale jobs.
Yes. And then we started I started to attend some. My friends said, no, let's go to the meetings after school. Then you go there, you find adults there, then you listen there, you're a young man. They talk about political, statements, how to change this education, how to mobilize the people, how to bring people into the streets and all that.
As a revolutionary, you were captured and then thrown into Robben Island prison. Tell me, the moment you got there, how was it?
Yeah, it's because of the political activities during the height of the struggle. Remember, soldiers came into the township. There was a curfew and the state of emergency. No movement, nothing. It's only racist soldiers walking on the street. If you go out, they shoot. And many comrades died. We buried them. And because of all these activities, the underground, remember the ANC was banned. And when you speak about the ANC, you got arrested. And when you receive material of the ANC, you got arrested. So we went underground to operate underground, clandestine operations, intelligence operations. We meet secretly, we learn about these things. We have pamphlets, we distribute them at schools around the township. People not to go to work, to say we are protesting. And when they attack for the first time, we hit back with assault rifles. And then through their intelligence, we were arrested. Solitary confinement. You know the solitary confinement.
Of
I
course.
saw it in that place here in Lebanon.
In Khiyam,
Yeah, in Khiyam.
Khiyam Detention Center,
So
we
what
know
happened?
what's the meaning of a solitary
Yes.
confinement.
Then after that, broken hands, we were charged with terrorism. And firstly they said it is high treason. Then they changed the concept. They said, no, it's terrorism. And then I was sentenced to 5 years. No, 10 years. And then I served 5 years on the island. The first time when we went to Robben Island, we did not know. They woke us up in one of the local prisons in Pretoria. And they said, in Afrikaans, we are going to swim. One prison warder said to us, and then I said, why do you go to swim? Where do we go to swim? Then one of my co-accused, the three of us, said, no, these people are going to throw us into a sea. And one of them said, no, hey, we are going to be, we don't know, but they said we're going to swim. It's now 3 a.m. in the morning. Comrades, we are going to be killed here. So they took us into a helicopter, and then they fly us to Pretoria, military, helicopter,
Yes.
in chains, obviously. And then when we arrived there, we met some members of the former military wing of Mkhonto Sizwe and various liberation movements. So they were sentenced 30 years, life sentences. And many of them that were life sentences.
This is in Pretoria.
Yes.
Yes.
Then we drove at the back of a van for 17 hours to Cape Town. But we're very,
You were
resilient.
young.
Very young, 20 years
Yes.
old. 20 years old. Very resilient. Singing at the back of the van, till. The morale was high, and when we arrived in Cape Town, and we were taken into a boat named Susan Kruger, under the boat there, because we were not allowed to sit on top, sit underneath. Then with chains, then it's a prison, you see. Then they in chains, and then they will wait when the swell of the sea is high. Then they will sail, so that you, for the first time, you can puke on yourself, because when the boat goes up and down, then the stomach rises.
Yes.
Yeah, deliberately to say welcome. Then we went through the island, and when we say, that's Robben Island, yes, that's where the leaders of the ANC are. Madiba is staying here, and all that. Hey, the morale went high.
Yes.
And that we are
Just to
going
know
see
that Nelson Mandela was also on that island with you.
Yeah, it was very much, inspirational.
How was
By
the
the way-
meeting with him? The first
By
meeting?
the way, in 1985, Madiba was not on Robben Island. We met him at Paulsmoor Prison on the mainland, because we have to stop during the night to take some food and some other things. And we said in that prison, Nelson Mandela is here. They said yes. And then we said, no, we're not going to eat. We're not going to move here. We're not going to eat without seeing Madiba.
My last question for you, please, is what activities are you preparing for through your association to take place soon?
Yes, based on the reasons of why we are here. We are walking on the footsteps of Nelson Mandela. When Nelson Mandela came after, to the people of Syria, to say to President Assad, thank you very much, and the people of Syria, for aiding and abetting the liberation movements, supporting the liberation movement against racism. We thank you all. He went back further to Palestine, to Yasser Arafat, to say thank you, the people of Palestine. to supporting us. Now, after liberation struggle, we can't sit and fold our hands as if there's nothing that is happening. We are revolutionaries. Our revolutionary consciousness tells us that something wrong there in Palestine. Matiba once said, Palestine won't be, the people of South Africa won't be free.
Until Palestine
is free.
Is free.
Now, as revolutionaries and political prisoners, we said, let us carry that objective and intensify it now. We are here to support the muqawma.
The resistance.
The resistance, the Syrian resistance, the Palestinian resistance, and the Lebanese resistance.
The Iraqi resistance, the Yemeni resistance, the Bahraini resistance, all kind of resistance.
But now we are coming in a different form. We are saying, let us change the tactics. Now is the time to change the tactics to work in unity. All the resistance must be unified, because in South Africa, when we defeated apartheid, it was a one united action front against the system. It was led by the Cubans, the MPLA, SWAPO, FAPLA, and MK.
Right.
Now here, we are here to say that all the muqawma, they must unite against
all
one
the
enemy.
Powers of resistance must unite against.
There are a lot of revolutionary programs of action that we are going to announce. We are going to have the conference later this year in Damascus of all the resistance movement, where we will be planning the objectives of the resistance movement.
Hopefully.
How are we going to take over Palestine back to its people?
Right.
How are we going to free the people of the Golan Heights so that it can go back to Syria? And we would like also to salute, Hassan Nasrallah.
The Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, yes.
You see, for resisting against Zionism. We've seen it at the heritage site.
Melita.
Melita.
Yes.
That is a wonderful place.
Right.
And we also salute President Assad, the commander-in-chief of the Syrian Arab forces, for resisting against, the mercenaries.
The global war against Syria, actually.
Yes.
Right. Ímbo Másimola, Deputy Secretary of Ex-Political Prisoner Association of South Africa, many thanks indeed for joining us. It's a great pleasure to have you.
Inshallah.
Always welcome,
شكرا.
Always welcome, sir. إذا لقاء جديد في الأسبوع المقبل مع ضيف جديد وقضية جديدة ودائما من الداخل. للمزيد من التواصل تابعونا على صفحات التواصل الاجتماعي من كل فريق عمل برنامج من كل الميادين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.